Welcome to the Vine Resources Podcast Show with your host, David Lawrence.
Welcome to another edition of the Vine Resources Podcast Show. Well, look, I'm delighted today to have with me David George. David is the CEO of Bikmo, really interesting company. David's actually from the UK originally, but he's joining me today from Austria. You'll find out more why. David, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
David, look, why don't you, I'd love to share with our listeners a little bit about your business. Really interesting. We just touched on it before we started this. Can you give us a bit of an overview of what you do in the bike insurance market?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we are an insurance company with a mission to protect the world's active people. Our focus now is 100% bikes and has been, that's where the company grew up from. I guess we're a technology company at heart made up of bike geeks. We build all the tech that our platform for the platform enables people to take out policies to protect their bikes, undertake midterm adjustments, claims, all the sort of functions you need for a policy. And alongside our sort of direct business, we also partner with large organisations and companies such as British Cycling, Deliveroo, Cycle Scheme, Brompton, the sort of ones you might know if you're in the sort of bike space. We're also a certified B Corp, which means we put wider stakeholders on the same level as shareholders when making decisions. That includes the team, that includes environment and social factors too.
Fantastic. And just, you know, most people may not think of this straight away. They might think they've got insurance on their home insurance, etc. You've obviously developed a tech platform. You've got a Series A investment and growing substantially. What options do people normally go for when they're thinking about insurance for a bike?
It's a good point. I mean, it's our biggest challenge as a company, really, as a brand, is education, letting people know it's out there. Home insurance, if you've got a cheap bike, a few £100, it's probably actually all right for you. But I mean, you've probably seen outside your street, not just during the pandemic, but there's been a boom going on for a while in the UK and of course in Europe as well. There's sort of this vast increase in e-bikes. Average value is €2,500. When you've got a more expensive bike, and when you do more with it, i.e. you might be out with family, but you might be racing, doing events, training, traveling with it, you really should consider what your home insurance doesn't cover. That's the most important thing. You do not want to be, even if your car's in your bike, even if your bike's in your car rather, or even if it's away from the home, it's sometimes not covered, and there'll often be a limit. You might have a high excess with a home insurance policy. So that's the main thing. It's not necessarily fit for purpose for everyone, but if you are into bikes, you've got quite a few bikes, it's definitely probably something you should consider. Interestingly, actually, we get way more claims for accidental damage than theft. Most people think about their bike getting nicked, and actually 55% of our customers damage their bikes often. And if you think you've got an expensive bike, it's not hard to spend a couple of £1,000 on a bike. That's an expensive bill if you have to pick it up.
What's the most common damage that gets done to a bike these days then?
It's a good question. It's mainly crash damage, and
right.
We get quite a lot of carbon bikes where carbon's actually quite easy to repair, but there's a lot less trust in it than there is in aluminium or steel. So we get quite a lot of people who smash and crash their bikes. It happens a lot. We're out there enjoying having fun, but there's potholes in the road. If you're out on the trails, there's trees in the way or something. It happens to all of us.
Fantastic. I know from your website, it's a very simple process. How did you develop that process, and how do you've obviously built the technology to enable that quote to come back pretty fast to customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I don't come from the insurance industry. My background's engineering. My passion is bikes. In 2011, I started Bikmo and it was the first iteration. Or the aim behind it was using tech to provide a service for riders to enable them to spend more time doing what they love, like riding, that sort of case. And the first iteration was actually a comparison platform, price comparison. So in basic terms, if you want to find a bike or a piece of kit, it can tell you where to buy it for the best price online or locally. So we tied in local retailers. We also had really content-rich pages. We tied in with big bike retailers, publishers to pull in the data. But the smart stuff, the intelligent stuff, it could tell you what bits fitted your bike. So if it tells you you've got an X bike, we could tell you what something simple like if you need a new set of tires, but if you need something more complex, headset, bottom bracket, it could tell you which bits fitted, which is actually quite useful. The issue with that model was it didn't make money. It was all affiliate marketing based, and cut a long story short, we could never we could never market to the same degree that a retailer could or a publisher could, so we could never sort of get that share of market. But insurance have been on the path from day one, on our radar. I had a chat with a guy from an insurance company in the UK. We're now our capacity provider here, and he said, "Why don't you build a policy?" And I didn't wake up in the morning wanting to be in insurance. I don't think many people do who end up being in it, but I had a look at the market, the forums, social blogs, asked a load of people, and the opportunity was huge. The incumbents or the existing insurance companies were doing it so badly. From a tech standpoint, the risk model was complex. The worst was 20 questions over 5 pages to get a quote. It's that sort of stuff. So we knew we could sort of pull it apart, and we're thankful our insurers allowed us just to question everything. So rather than having all these questions, we just asked what bike value, total garage value, how much value, what's the most value you take away from the house? Is it a main risk value, and what's your postcode? That's all you need to take, to get a quote, and then it's a few clicks to take out a policy. And that's really where we focused the time, and actually making it simple and quick. It did backfire a little bit because people thought it was too simple. Buying an insurance policy is a bond of trust, isn't it? You're trusting that the insurance company, in the event that your bike gets stolen, damaged, they're going to be there to pay out. And a transaction which seems too easy sometimes doesn't align itself with that. So we've had to improve some things along the way. We're just in the process of overhauling our sort of user experience and sort of front end brand, and we're going to improve that even further.
Tell us. I mean, you've got quite a distributed team, which is amazing.
Sure.
Why don't you do a bit of background of that, because you've got people all over the place. What's 25 odd people in the company and growing quickly?
Yeah, it's 25 people, and we're growing really quite quick at the moment. So the majority, I lived in Chester in the UK, which is northwest near Manchester, when I started the company, and so that was where the majority of the team grew out from. And actually, it's kind of at a confluence of North Wales, sort of Liverpool, Manchester. There's a lot of cyclists. It's just on the doorstep of Llandegla, which is the bike trail centre near there, and the North Wales mountains. So that's where we started. But then when I was looking sort of further afield, the German-Austrian market was going to be the next sort of place. We did a little bit of research with the International Development Board, the sort of government sort of outfit. And just the size of the economy, the location, particularly of Innsbruck, which is where I'm based at the moment, was very interesting. It's a really strong economy. People have a big focus on outdoor sports and health in general, and the level of disposable income is very high. It hasn't got quite the volatility when it comes to the economics as some other areas in Europe. So it's quite a strong market. And Innsbruck was chosen. Really, it's in the heart of the mountains. I mean, I'm stood here. It's actually just out of raining, but I've got 7,000-8,000 foot mountains just in front of me. There's a university and an airport. So we've got this really, and it's not seasonal. So you've got this little honeypot of a place where people want to live, who enjoy the outdoor sports. They've got the skills. There's a university there, so it's a good place to recruit and base ourselves from. So that's the reason people are there. We've got our head of product is based in Chamonix. Again, another outdoor mecca at the moment. But I mean, as you've seen in the kind of, I guess, in recent times, people are getting more familiar with being remote. That's not to say face-to-face time isn't incredibly important. It is, but we can manage. We live in the 21st century, so I like to embrace it.
We'll touch on that. So tell us a little bit about what those early days looked like. What was the first to 6 to 12 months, and how particularly as well did you scale your tech platform and decide on what to implement to build it yourself or customized? How did that operate?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll kind of fast forward rather than when we start the comparison platform. So it's in 2014, I think April 2014, I had the first conversation with Hiscox. July 2014, we made the agreement and we built the first platform in sort of 8 weeks. At that time, one of the harder things was actually just getting people's mindset around to the fact that we're doing insurance now, not comparison site. It's a complete pivot. But at the end of the day, what we do on a day-to-day basis is help riders out. We're on the phone to bike geeks and we sort them out, when they're at a pretty critical time. So that's quite important. And from a tech perspective, I've always been in the mindset that if we're going to build a brand within the insurance space, that we need to own the end-to-end process with each and every consumer. So we need to manage right through from the brand development, the marketing, how we actually acquire customers, right through to how they transact on the website. If they make a change to the policy, if they want to make a claim, and even when they cancel, every experience has to be exceptional. Is something I use in the business quite often, way above the sort of normal standard. So that means we're going to have to keep increasing our standard as you know, the standard of experience gets better with other companies. We had George, who's our I think he's been with us 8 years now, our CTO, who's an incredible guy, who built the system from the ground up, and he's now got a team of 4, which is going to be doubling in the next year. We should hit that, and that's been really important. We have had our issues with it. I think anyone developing software will know bugs happen, but it's really allowed us to tailor the experience, and I think this next iteration of our user experience of brand is going to be something else. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And look, tell us now what is a typical day in the business looking like for you? I mean, we're now in July of 2020 to share that timeline. What's it look like day to day for you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I've managed to do in the past year is bring on board some awesome team members that do things so much better in the business than I could ever think of doing them. That's been really, it's been liberating. I think when you're a sole founder and you kind of start to pass on things to other people, there's a bit of nervousness with that, because you're passing on something that you knew how to do and do well. They pass it on to someone else, but it's incredibly liberating now. I kind of feel to be able to do that and just work with people I mean, the day kind of starts with taking my kid to school on a bike. That's a very important sort of process for me. Right on the way to work, arrive here about 8, check in calendar, Asana, clear my inbox, and then it's really a case, particularly at the moment. I mean, as you'd expect, is video calls for quite a bit of the day. I generally try and allow a day per week. That's normally a couple of half days for focus time, for new stuff, and to focus on anything. I think it's really important in the business, particularly when everyone is remote. There's tendency to fill your day with calls and video calls. So just to allow that sort of free time as well, super important. And yeah, lunch with the team. I normally don't leave particularly late, to be honest. Get and see little people, but then probably a little bit in the evening, depending on what's happening. And because we're across, there's a couple of time zones we're across, not a huge amount, but it means that the morning stint, for example, I'm an hour ahead of the UK, so it's quite nice actually having that quiet period before the UK team.
Yeah. So obviously you've embraced remote working for some time, obviously before COVID. So, has there been any challenges, or have you seen opportunities or things that you've even improved during this period?
I think the main thing we've had to focus on, I mean, as probably a lot of the companies you speak to here, we're fully cloud-based. We don't have any servers at a particular location, and particularly when it comes to, because we're in the insurance business, and we need to look after customers, disaster recovery, business continuity plans. That means that we have to be able to, if there was an explosion at a given location, you can pick up a laptop and work from anywhere with power and Wi-Fi. So actually, to step back to that hasn't been a challenge for us really at all. The biggest thing, and mainly because it's been so extended, is the welfare of employees, sort of mental health as well as sort of physical health, getting everyone the right headsets, second screens, a bit more training on just, if you're going to be sitting at a desk for so long, in a small sort of office, having regular check-ins. It was once a day, 15 minutes, not a coffee break, where just sit back, have a coffee, and there might be 16 people on the line, there might be 2. But it's just an opportunity to sort of sit back and talk about things other than what you're doing now. It's just about allowing those times and allowing the space. And our head of people, Teresa's done an awesome job about bringing in the right sort of ways of working together, checking in on people you might not ever speak to. You wouldn't normally sort of check in for a meeting. Just allowing the time to look after each other.
Have you found that? Have you found particular tools or things that you use day to day useful to keep in touch with everyone? Are you using Slack or other tools? What works well for you?
Yeah, we've used Slack for years. We kind of did away with email pretty much, apart from external. So generally Slack's internal, email's external, broadly speaking. And we use all the tools we use are collaborative. We use Quip for sort of internal documentation. I said it's now a Salesforce company, but because we deal with a few docs and stuff. And then we use the G Suite for most stuff. So Google Hangouts is our kind of go-to, but we do use Zoom and MS Teams and other ones if needed. Not Skype very much, but they seem to have lost the ground. But
yeah. And what have you seen? How have you seen the market impacted? Over the last few months, how's it impacted your business, and perhaps what changes have you had to put in place?
In terms of the insurance market, i.e. the market that we work in. Yeah. So, we did see, full transparency, we did see at the back end of March and April, we were sort of 20 to 30% down of where we expected to be. But I feel incredibly grateful, thankful, and lucky to be in a sector that is booming in a downturn. and it will continue to do well regardless of what happens after furlough ends. People will be looking to bikes as a means of transport and sport. So we're back up to and over where we expected to be for this time of year at the start of the year, which is incredible. We've had to push back some projects just due to a number of different factors, which I won't go into now. So a few revenue streams are kind of pushed off to one side. But you mentioned the Series A before. I mean, we closed that the announcement was in May. Of course, most things were in place sort of months earlier than that. But that gave us a lot of stability that we can still invest into people, team, marketing, technology, brand, all these things that we're going to do anyway. It's been a good time for doing that. And the amount that we've achieved completely remotely has been incredible. So yeah, huge thanks to the team for enabling us to do that.
So what's exciting you over the next few years of the industry, and how do you see that perhaps impacting your business model or those of incumbents in the industry?
Yeah, in general, I would say we span two sectors. One being bike and the sort of wider active sports market or kind of active sports market, and the second one being insurance. I think in the insurance market in the UK particularly, we're probably seeing there's been a big sort of uptake in sort of insurtech scene in general, lots of startups, and I think what we're starting to see is incumbents starting to raise their game a bit, because a new piece of technology, whether it is a piece of AI or the digitization of an account area and functionality, that will become the norm. Yep. So I think we're going to see that happen, and we've already started to see some of the incumbents acquiring some of the startups, the insurtech startups that will be within the sector. I think overall there's some really interesting stuff that's happening. I think the expectation from customers is increasing as to how a company acts. Lemonade are a great US sort of insurance company, recently IPO'd, entered the European market last year. A really good example of that, just their narrative, I think, around how they talk about insurance. They are a B Corp benefit corporation as well, similar to us, and I guess in their ethical approach. It's a very different market in Germany, Austria. Largely speaking, it's very broker-led. There's a lot of digital companies, but on the ground that you'll heard of, GetSafe and ShitsClick, and some of you might not have heard of. But there's still a broker in every single village. There's still a mentality with that, and I think that's going to take another 5 to 10 years to break. I think in the bike world, I think we're going to see that the sort of boom continue for a while. The issue is you won't be able to buy one for about another sort of 4 to 6 months, because the lag in manufacturing is so great within the bike sector. But I think overall, as an outcome from COVID, I fully expect the focus on lifestyle, particularly an active lifestyle, mental health, well-being, is going to increase even more than it has done in the past 5 years. I think it's going to be a really big focus. And people will just put a lot more of their expendable income value into that sort of area, into doing what they love, rather than just living.
And who, David, who are the kind of people you're interested in connecting to, connecting with, reaching out to, building relationships at the moment? Yeah,
I think that we already partner with some big organisations. Our focus really from a business perspective is to support organisations, and that might be a governing body of a sport. It might be a big employer or a small employer for that amount. Anything that we can do to help their members, employees, keep on riding is really what we want to do. So I think partnerships with organisations or individuals would be is probably the biggest area of interest. It's the area we're growing in a lot. We work with Health Assured, the biggest sort of provider in the UK with the NHS, and I guess any sort of company that might be interested in partnering on that basis, who they want to encourage their employees or members to ride more, would be the big focus.
And David, look, I always like to ask this at the end, but you've obviously been through the ups, the roller coasters of growing a business and the challenges of that. If you were giving your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would you say to yourself?
I think I would suggest just try more, just do something different early on. I mean, I went to university, and full transparency again, I did not get the same value out of it that, for example, my brother got when he spent 5 years doing stuff and then came back and he nailed university. He wanted to be there. For me, it was the kind of first release, and I spent the first couple of years messing around. Let's be honest. I did fine in the end, and I won't be where I am today if I didn't do that. But I think there's an opportunity that that's not necessarily the only path that you have to take. I think with the amount of technology, how easy it is to set up a business, just try things, and there is capital and support and funding there for doing it. I would just say go for it, and break a few things and get hurt, and then you'll be stronger because of it.
David, thanks for joining us. If anyone wants to reach out to you, connect with the company, find out more, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, sure. LinkedIn, David George Bikmo, just search for that, and Instagram, Twitter, Dave_Bikmo. You can connect with me there.
Fantastic. Dave, thanks for your time. Take care.
Thank you.
We really hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you want to listen to more exclusive tips and life lessons from our guest, go to the resources page at vineresources.com.